happy birthday. They don't want to play.
Okay, we are back. We are back online, and we are just going to read chapter 9 again. Yeah, we'll start from the beginning. Yes, we'll start from the beginning. Did you know when this thing went off? You didn't even tell me.
No, I knew when it was hanging, but I thought it was from my end. I didn't know it was the general. That's why I kept looking at you.
Okay, so we're going to start from 9, but before we even start, one of us who is here with us just told us that today is her birthday, and she found it worthy to be here to celebrate with us with her birthday, and it's none other than I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at myself.
Ah, self-absorbed.
Yes, I agree. So today is her birthday. It's none other than Grace Edeki. Grace, say hi. Am I getting you?
Yes, and you're getting me too. Yes, thank you.
All right, so today is her birthday, and we are going to celebrate it with her.
She should reach chapter 9.
Yeah?
She should reach.
You want to read chapter 9? All right, so
Oh. Oh.
hold on, let me turn everything your way.
That she's coming up now.
So I will turn it to you. Read chapter 9 while. Is it set?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Let me go and get what we are going to eat. Those of you that did not come, you watch us eat, eh?
Yeah, you watch us munch. Lunch in the unknown.
Because we are a favorite bunch.
Mm.
It will be the starch. Okay, go.
I will have no. It's not perfect.
Yeah, don't worry, she's safe.
All right.
Okay.
If you can come back.
Hopefully she's safe.
And you see what I will find.
Chapter 9. Desperation. Regardless of how Christian an African is, there are some superstitious beliefs that would linger in the crevices of his or her mind. From childhood, my older cousin, Winifred, and her friends made me believe that when I break a rule and I'm on the verge of being punished, plucking hairs from my eyelashes and placing them in the middle of my head will definitely save my head from knocks. Whenever egrets fly over my head, we'd stand outside and sing, Shekeleke, give me one finger, believing very strongly that we'd find some white pigment on our fingernails, and most times we did. Truth is, whatever you focus on enlarges. If you look hard, you find whatever it is you're looking for. Other popular beliefs I came across while growing up included the following. If you're about going out and hit your leg against a stone, it means you are doomed to meet with misfortune at where you are headed. If your palm itches, if your palms itch, you're about to receive some money as a gift. If you unintentionally wear your clothing backwards, you're about to get effortlessly lucky. Whenever your eyes experience spastic movements, you're about to see something fascinating. 2015, the air was heavy with February Valentine frenzy as of this month. My eyes flickered involuntarily, and then I noticed that I'd been scratching my palms and that I'd mistakenly worn my shirt backwards. I left the house with the confidence of one whose chi has prepared a pleasant surprise for. I was to travel to Lagos for an all expense paid event in 2 days. Earlier in the day, I'd returned to my house from Uyo to meet my flat's electricity disconnected, something that should be blamed on the nonchalance of my neighbors, who couldn't offset the bills or bribe the NEPA officials to leave our lights alone. What's on the menu?
There's rice, there's swallow, there's shawarma.
Leave an order for shawarma now.
Shawarma. Okay. What kind? Beef, chicken.
Chicken.
Chicken. Uncle. You need to chop food for your village because I will come up from here. Chop shawarma. Chop shawarma. Just wait.
You soft drink.
Eh?
You soft drink.
Yeah.
Please, can I get a yogurt? I don't really like to.
Hila.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Hila.
I like to see your voice. It's okay. See?
It's asking for privilege.
Can I get any milky drink? I don't really like soft drinks that much.
No,
Like,
if
is
they
it
don't
like
have the alcohol, can buy for you.
like yogurt? Something
You don't have the right to make demands on you. No be your birthday. It's not you that you push out.
Are you mango first? The shawarma. I don't like shawarma. Anything you like, no interruption.
Okay, so
What do you
some
say?
I want to continue. Something that should be blamed on the nonchalance of my neighbors, who couldn't offset the bills or bribe the NEPA officials to leave our light alone. This was horrible because I had the most need of the power. My parents kept whining of the fervid weather. Much as I wanted to travel on full bar, I needed to keep my figure of speech online group alive. It was my turn to rate the submissions of virtual slammers in page poetry, and a phone in its lowest ebbs of battery level was just bad for business. To service the situation, I grabbed my extension sockets and chargers and dashed off to a bet shop along our avenue. I plugged in and set myself down in the roadie shop to start grading participating poets' scores. While I was at it, I overheard two guys arguing back and forth on top of their lungs. Real, real Zaragoza go win, na sure bet. Deportivo La Corona go win. La Corona go win.
I think, I don't know. Black Corona.
Yeah, La Corona. Thank you. La Corona go win. This was quite normal for spirited sports fans. The browse and fight for bragging rights. It's as well as contagious. I became a willing contributor, but with my cachet of head-to-head statics. I called to them and made my professional analysis. Real Zaragoza has not won this team in 3 seasons, so in fact, they lose 2 goals or 3-0. One whose prediction I thought countered jeered at me. Abeg ye, leave that in jaw. You sabi say na La Liga be this? Yes, yes, I'm a Barca fan and I dey follow La Liga well well. Na me dey tell you now. If I if I hear Barcelona fans wey no sabi shimbai, obviously he was not impressed. But his opponent was convinced enough to bet exactly what I predicted as regards that particular match. I was in the same spot the next day when the two refulgent gentlemen rushed into the shop. The one whose stakes had won and had come to thank me. Oga, you sabi game, man. Sure, the game entered exactly the way you yarn am. My heart swelled with pride and my grin widened. It's not in my guy, flex like banner. In my head, I was like, Omo, Shebi, I no go like win too. Am I not the lucky guy? Maybe the superstitious belief for luck worked for me yesterday. I mused to myself. It better worked again, oh. It better worked again, oh, today, oh. I had about 25,000 naira in my pocket. It was the logistic for the Lagos event. Man had an electric bill to pay. At least my folks would stop complaining and I would have a little extra for my trip. Make I just double my hustle abeg. I stood up, checked the next La Liga match, and decided to stake. For the teams I selected, I thought the safest thing to bet on was a 10 minutes goalless draw, since both teams had been on a goal drought in their last 3 games. I staked almost all the money I had for my trip, about 20,000 naira. In a few seconds, the match would begin and I win a huge sum, inshallah. I was yet to leave the counter to go back to my seat when someone tapped me. Omo, you bet that game? I said yes. Hey, they don't win, oh. Hey, they don't score. Oh. It was unbelievable. I laughed. I laughed. A decidedly hollow one. My surety that they were just joking came when someone else said, "Na true, oh, they don't score two. It's impossible." Yet another, my guy, they don't score two. Oh." It was no longer funny. In less than 10 minutes. I'd not how come I'd not even collected my bet slip? One of them brought an old Shangen phone to show me the live scores. I could not believe my eyes. The away team has scored two and even missed a penalty. In less than 10 minutes, my 20,000 naira had gone into tiny papa obscurity. I couldn't get a hold of myself. I felt like running mad. For 30 minutes, I couldn't concentrate on grading anything online. I couldn't answer anyone. I totally zoned out of reality into an alternate one where I found myself trekking from Port Harcourt to Lagos. And no, I was not oblivious of the people pointing at me and whispering within earshot. See am now. Na him be the Obasabi wey lose big money now. Oh boy, now wow. 20 naira wey I go just use start business like this. True. I grew roots on my leg, refusing to leave the pet shop. Where was the face to depart from the outcome of my desperation? I took the cashier's closing time announcement. It took the cashier's closing time announcement to get me to leave. I packed my phone chargers into my bag and left. It was on my way home that I heard the beauteous voice of Becky
BK.
of BK feel the evening breeze of Rumukalabo. Withholding nothing. It was not just the singing that captured my spirit. The musical accompaniment drifted into measured grace between the voice notes, like it was a finished score, fresh. It was a finished song, fresh and sizzling from a nearby studio. It called to me, the song, out from every doubt that it was a live performance. The wild exultation of the worshippers nearby, it called to me, out of the dispiritedness of a huge loss of going home to face two old folks who didn't even like me as their son. The song called me to the church that would later become my place of worship. I found me sitting on a pew, unaware of all but the guy singing on stage. The air conditioning of the sanctuary did its part in cooling my heated soul. Did its part in cooling my heated soul. It felt so out of place. I didn't deserve to be here. And the pastor who climbed the restaurant afterwards made me understand that too. He was a bank manager, a man I would later come to know as Pastor Ernest Adejumo, one of the assistant pastors of the rest place of CGMI Port Harcourt. His word for the night was financial intelligence. What caught my interest the most from all he said was the breakdown of the ideal way a Christian would budget. I half expected him to say stuff along the lines of, bring ye your money to the storehouse that there may be meat in my house. But the man was professional, taught us the popular 50-30-20% budgeting rule in a new light. Save 20% of your income. Use 50% for bills such as rent, feeding, utility bills, fares, insurances, etc. The remaining 30% should go to discretional spending. Of this 30% discretional spending, 10 goes to your investments, 10% goes to tithes, 5% goes to personal emergencies, and 5% goes to emergencies of family, friends, and loved ones. For entrepreneurs, try not to hire from the onset. Learn the skill and do it yourself if you can. Try not to spend. Reduce your expenses and increase your income. Every investment is a gamble. Study the ROI, but remember to watch the red flags. According to him, one should always earning for a month can't pay your rent for a or increase your income for a month by creating more sources of income. I immediately could understand why most wealthy people behave the way they do. I understood why my father couldn't maintain his early wealth. It was obvious that I wasn't the only one who was overwhelmed by this information overload. Before I could start feeling guilty that the Simon was prepared specially for me, he said, "This is keep telling people not why I keep telling people not to bet." I took a surreptitious glance around to be sure no one seated in the congregation had seen me at the bet shop earlier. I felt spoke. As though that was not enough, he ended by screaming like the woman at the well if I had not clutched tight at the pew. After the service, prayed that God should give me a second chance at handling my resources with care and not greed. That prayer was answered a few minutes past that very night by a debtor who called me, who owed me 30,000 naira from a book I transcribed into a screenplay. The dashed hope of shuttling to Lagos was again revived. It was in the same desperate need to charge my phone that I found myself in another quite different but funnier circumstance. I was to judge Islam, organized by enigmatic Olumide, a friend in Ibadan. I had to leave Port Harcourt by night if I must make it to the event on the said day. He forewarned me to ensure I made it to Ijebu Ode, take another vehicle headed to Ibadan, and get to Iwo Road before 7 a.m. as that day was sanitation, and as such, no vehicles would ply that road after then. Our bus was delayed, but I made it to the roundabout at exactly 7 a.m. Then the unforeseen happened. My phone went off. I couldn't call him or tell him the part of town I was in. This was in the days I used the kind of Paco the kind of Paco Nokia touch phones you use rubber bands to hold its life together. The kind that looked like a grandma heading to some August meeting. The kind the battery swells and you have to short circle it by licking the terminals with your tongue to test for any sign of life. I needed to charge my phone urgently. Everyone I came across on the road wore kafashans and flowing abadas or had thick tribal marks on their cheeks that said communication in English was a far cry. They all replied in Yoruba. I gave up and decided not to speak to anyone who wasn't dressed in a demi or anything not so abada. A little away from the roundabout, I saw a guy stuttering towards me bearing the profile of what I was looking for. He wore jean trousers, a basketball vest, and a bandana. Just when I was starting to thank God that my luck was in, dude crossed the traffic light to the other side of the road. Hope was slipping away. I scrambled after him. Excuse me, Hez. He spun around with the gait of a man used to receiving attention. Yo, my guy, what's up? Ah, thank God. At least this one say what's up. Please, I'm new here. I can't reach the person that's supposed to pick me up from here. Where can I charge my phone? Next thing, he smiled and bared a dentition, stained yellow by tobacco and gin. It was on his breath too. Bad guy, you won't charge your phone? I thought if I'd not made a mistake, what's bad in charging phone? Understanding that Nigerian had a different meaning for bad when it came stressed and straight from the street. Oh boy, you won't charge your phone. Follow me. We go charge phone today. He waved he waved an ample of he looked pretty normal. He didn't sound slurred. I followed. Push comes to shove. I'll break his head or am I not stronger? I got to a place that looked like a bar, but the music blaring from the speakers were gospel songs. He sat down and motioned me to do the same. I was fidgeting, and it showed in the reluctance with which I obliged him. Hafana, buy me drink now, he said. Uh-uh. I said, I want to charge my phone, and you're saying buy you drink. Oh boy, you no go like calm down there. Now so the thing go that's how the thing hold you. I want to charge my phone. No. Go charge am now. Just buy me drink. Buy your drink, guy now. I don't try for you. I didn't want to think it was barely 8 in the morning. Maybe the men here started their day with booze, and I would only lose a few bucks to cater for such absurdity, but I would get it to charge my phone, right? I said, okay, I'll buy it for you. Normally, I don't buy alcohol for people. Sha, what do you want to take? Henneke, my guy. I called to the bartender, a fair woman who looked like she'd been in the business of serving alcohol stabbed men all her life. From her accent and from the Akanchawa music blaring from the speakers, around, I could tell she was Igbo. I tried my guess. Madam, name Nya Henikin Abo. She brought 2 bottles of the beer to my helper, who already was singing my goodness. Oh boy, you good? You good, eh? I swear you're a good man. I shook my head in sheer pity for him and for me because my phone battery's hope for resuscitation was in the hands of a soon to be drunk fellow or not. My eyes caught on an extension close by the television. Wait, I could charge here, can't I? Madam, I can plug my phone here, ba, I said in Igbo. The way we the way we made requests without really asking. Yes, of course you can. I went there and plugged my phone. Unless this guy had other ideas of how or where to charge my phone, I think my mission was accomplished or not. For when he finished the second bottle of beer, he clapped his hands as though to rouse me to attention. Ah, my guy, are you ready to charge your phone now? He asked, smacking his lips and rubbing his palms against each other in readiness. Okay, are we on the same page here, Oga? I am charging it already, you. I said to him, pointing at the extension close to the television in front of us. Senior man, follow me, follow me. Where are we going again? To charge your phone now. At this point, I became certain that we were not on the same page, but my curiosity got the better of me. See, I don't want to go far, so don't steal my phone. Oh. I beg, dem no go steal. Abeg, dem no dey steal for here. No be dat kind of phone sha. Follow me, e no too far. We walked out, took a turn towards where the bar owner stacked empty crates and came abreast a dark hall. I was sure something transpired between the darkness, but I could not put a finger to what it was exactly. Are you ready? He grinned. I looked at him quizzical. Ready for what? Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
He hooted and flipped a switch. The hall came alive with lights, and the most naked sight of my morning. About 20 women with thighs as thick as my whole body strutted about like pregnant pickles in bleached bare bodies, smelling of alcohol and cheap sex. I could not stand the sight of so much naked depravity. I ran for my own sanity. The guy called after me laughing. Oh boy, come now, Shebi, you say you won't charge phone. Come select one, them cheap oh. He came to meet me back inside the bar. Why you run now? The bartender was angry with him. Why you go bring this kind person wey never reach 18 here now? See, why why you go bring this kind of why you go bring person why you go bring this kind person wey never reach 18 here now? See him face now, he never reach na small pikin be this now. The guy said in defense, na him say you wan charge phone o. I brandished my phone and blotted out phone that this is it, I'm charging it already. And the judge doubled over in laughter at being naive to the ways and parlors of the street here. But now I knew better, and the question kept coming back to my mind amidst the rumors of the moment was this. How many wayfarers who stumbled on this road had been desperate enough to charge their phones in a chalet or more to plug their manhood between the fattened laps of women of the oldest profession? Do I need to read all this?
No, no.
Adore.
Awesome. Thank you.
See the view from here. It's so nice. I think you should be sitting.
Oh, don't worry. Let me stay there. The next one. Oh boy, that was really cool. Nobody was on. What happened? The network disappeared or something.
It's in court.
I don't know.
Can I see my check? Wait, is it on? Wait, is it on? Oh, Jesus Christ. Why didn't you say
Wait,
that?
nobody was listening.
I want to be sure what happened. Go check if you can join us and see. Go to leave the Instagram, go to the YouTube and see.
I didn't know you had already placed order with Levi.
Mm.
I can see you.
You can see me
I want to see you.
in real time.
Yes.
Is it?
Okay. Yes. It's a bit delayed, but yes. Jabba-dabba-dabba. I thought people were watching.
People are still there. Please, if you can see me. Okay, somebody just joined. That's
Yeah.
you.
No, there's somebody else. Your Vibes Plus.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay, if you can watch me, just say watching with three dots. Watching. Let me be sure.
Oh, what is
How was the reading?
Awesome.
it? It was good. You have very lovely
Awesome.
voice.
I like this.
This one I support. Stop playing. Like I actually thought I was going to.
No, I didn't stop playing because
Where you go? Why? Why you?
I don't know
Just
what.
just staring at me.
I'm like, maybe think about it.
Okay, strum your lair. Okay, chapter 10 is titled Collecting the Like Terms. Have you ever had a fight with someone and after the fight you start seeing lots of similarities between both of you? Like you, I can relate to this absolutely because this was a situation between me and algebra. I hated algebra. I hated that goddamn I hated that goddamn topic because it blew my only chance of at liking and by extension understanding mathematics. But you see, regardless of my hatred for algebra, I had a favorite part of calculating algebraic equations. That part where you would have to collect like terms. It was the most difficult yet logical part. Negatives move to the opposite direction and become positive, and just as the term suggests, bring together similar terms. For example, all terms numbers with variable letter x are huddled together, and all terms with variable y are huddled together. I was so fascinated by it, so much so that it became invaluable to my daily chores and later to my branding as an artist. I remember how, after snacking, my cousin Winifred and I would hold the papers or polythene bags with which our snacks were packed until we found a waste basket where the exact kind of pack was. As we dropped the waste, we would scream like terms collected. It was fun. This made it easy, especially because it was difficult dealing with the information overload from the financial intelligence class taught by Pastor Ernest Adejumo. I had to do so much in a short period of time. For instance, I learned how to eat just once or twice a day. I avoided snacking. This wasn't very easy because I was big on snacking. I could munch those easygoing beauties for months and still feel great. Once my Port Harcourt friends and I were invited to a huge event in Lagos. I was paid 85,000 naira, unlike my colleagues who got at most 25,000 naira each, while they borrowed money from friends, including me, to complete the cost of their flight tickets to Lagos. I booked a night bus to Lagos. The cost to fly was 28,000 naira one way, whereas my night bus journey cost me a whooping 3,800 naira. And yes, I got to Lagos the next morning before them. Since Uncle Sam's house was at Ajawa Estate close to the airport, I asked him to help pick them up. We drove to the airport and waited for them at the arrivals terminal. On seeing me and my uncle waiting for them, they took pictures with me and uploaded them on social media with the tag. But Harcourt Poets just landed in Lagos. Within me, I felt awkward, like I had just lied, but I was also appreciative that they had lied in my behalf. Reputation check, fewer expenses double check. What's more, I didn't stay in a fancy hotel. I stayed at Uncle Sam's house and had a great time bonding with his family, especially my adorable cousins, the twins, Sammy Peter and Sammy Paul, Daniel and Victory, and the hospitable wife, Auntie Oge. Not only that, with time, I started enjoying my shanty home. As the caretaker, I wasn't paying rent for my room, but was paying just 3,000 naira a month for my parents. This made it easy for me to save to buy building materials for my castle back in Owerri. The choice of my branding materials, I picked the hats because my hair was a sorry sight and I couldn't afford to always braid or dread it. I wore simple English wears, second-hand clothes, most of which I bought from Abuleba Market in Lagos, and coated my looks with at least six cheap beaded bangles that just cost 100 naira each, and my African drum necklace, a gift from my friend from Ethiopia, who I met at War of Words Africa in 2016. I was not a very palatable sight, as the hat made me look like the male version of Choma Jesus, but it worked for what I wanted at the moment. My brand spoke of hybridization, one being a component of two distant planes For instance, I'm part Nigerian, part Jamaican. I'm Igbo, but was born and lived most of my life in the northern parts of Nigeria. Most African, most Africans speak language fluently, and even the English language they seem to understand better. They fail to pronounce the words correctly. I remember how a Ghanaian poet during the poetry event in Amsterdam had his speech translated from English to English because the audience could not understand his accent. I remember him laughing and saying, "Come on, please, tap it, just tap it." Why also have religious hybrids? Oh, we also have religious hybrids. Those African Christians who do both traditional and white weddings. Those who go to church on Christmas Day and still watch masquerades. How about those who take the agbo and still swallow malaria capsules? One funny instance is the one scenario in my former yard. Pastor Blackie woke one morning and couldn't find his tricycle, Keke Napep. He threatened that the thief would go unpunished, and with confidence he swore that he would drop the Bible, go to his village juju, and call the picture of the thief in a water mirror. The next morning, his tricycle was returned. Most Africans do whatever pleases them, so long as allegiance to a god is concerned. To most, it's a more than worship. It's this hybridization that formed my appearance. English wears foreign and the African drums and beaded ornaments to represent Africa. I was once attacked by an overtly religious Christian who referred to me as an ancestor, and that comes to church. He challenged me to mention where beads was mentioned in the Bible. Christ bids us to come, I had said with a smile, as onlookers laughed him to scorn. I was inspired greatly by poems like Pa Dr. Gabriel Okara's Piano and Drums. Was it not against this background that I wrote poems like Bat and My Classmates? The one that caused the most controversy was when I published it. When I published it was Allah Akbar in Jesus' name, whose opening lines read thus: "Because we've drawn dividing rules on the scrolls of righteousness, inshallah, I'm a Christian, and the gods are my witness. So Allah Akbar in Jesus' name. Let's keep meddling in this cheating game." Adapting to this way of life in a very short time wasn't a walk in the park. Approaching all of these lessons was going to be easy only when I work with those with similar mindsets. Hence, the ultimate task first was to do away with relationships that weren't beneficial in this regard. Two, maintain by way of interaction, volunteering, and engagement relationships that are beneficial and starting new relationships that promise values that I would need in the future. Every event I was invited to perform, immediately after performing, I would get the contacts of at least 20 attendees, 10 of whom their brands are in quality of visibility, 5 of whom their brands are bigger than mine, and the last 5 would be those whose brands are a lot smaller than mine. For the bigger brands, I would look out for whenever they had any project, and I would volunteer to perform or work there. For the brands equal to mine, I would just collaborate with them. And for the smaller brands, I would offer to teach, mentor, and connect them to each other and to people whose help they would need. Does this make sense? Speaking of relationships that aren't beneficial, I was with a group of fellow artists when I heard one of us asking to be lent some money to go to an event. He would use the money paid him both as honorarium and for his logistics for something else. He wasn't exactly referring to me, but when I saw that these other guys weren't helping him and I had the resources to do so, I went to a nearby ATM, I withdrew the amount he was asking for and handed it over to him. He was appreciative and promised to pay back before Sunday that week. 3 months later, I hadn't heard from him. I had tried calling him several times to no avail. Because he kept ignoring my calls, I had to reach out to our mutual friends. They asked me with sarcasm, lacing their voices, why I thought they refused to give him the money that day he was asking. I was morose. Meanwhile, I needed the money to pay for father's medications, which cost about 4,800 naira per week. Finally, I reached out to his fiance and explained everything to her. She, aware of the inflow and outflow of cash in his account, was vexed and ashamed by his actions. She most probably confronted him because he called me a few hours later and told me with a not so friendly tone that he had received my message and that I would get the 10,000 naira by Thursday that week. The following week, his fiance called me to confirm if he had paid me, to which I replied yes. He sent me 10,000 naira amidst apologies. she transferred the balance of the money to me. On another occasion, I had lent some money to a fellow artist who needed some money to complete the cost of his flight ticket to Dubai. In my head, I thought, by the time he goes to Dubai to buy some things and comes back to sell them, what is 25,000 naira that he won't be able to return to me? I was in for a spleen slicing shock. 2 years and some months later, Oga was yet to pay me what he owed me. His excuse was that he's just an ordinary teacher and his pay isn't so good. Plus, what he went to do in Dubai didn't work out as planned. Finally, after almost 3 years, he decided to unshock me and sent me what he owed me minus 8,000 naira. Yes, after 3 years, the senior man still had the guts to not pay me completely. Anyway, I've learned my lesson, and I hope you do too. What's the lesson? When someone has wealthier, closer friends, but comes to you who isn't as close to him or her, that's a red flag. His or her other friends most probably knows that he or she cannot be trusted when it comes to financial commitments. Also, beware of people who know all the stingy people around. They've obviously had a blossoming career begging for money. Personally, being the overtly emotional person that I was, it was no mean feat getting rid of these people. I considered family and friends. They weren't beneficial to me because truly, if they give you credit, you are owing. Besides, not all those who call you boss are loyal. Most of them are just actors. And in our parlance, you know what actors do to bosses. Hence, when I was asked by a group of artists what I had to say about the guys who were Dandizi's homeboys complaining that he left them, they wanted to know if I supported them or Dandizi. Like Jesus evading questions from the Pharisees and scribes, aimed to trap him, I answered, neither of them are wrong. Depending on the situation you know. They looked at me puzzled, so I continued, everyone is a brand, and people would most probably grow away from that. If Dandizi's homeboys decided not to grow alongside him, you don't expect him to stay on their level. Obviously, he would move on because he wants to grow. But if these homeboys are willing to grow with him and he isn't taking them along, then that's not right on his part. By growing with him, I don't mean wait for him to come and dash them money or work. I mean they themselves would have to make real progress as brands and not just persons who know the artist when he was nobody. Boys can't be boys forever, you know. Priorities change and the circle changes with them. In my case, for instance, I've had Victor Anosike Sanomatics as my media manager for 8 years now. He wasn't the only one who started out with me, but he was the only one who was ready to grow alongside me. So instead of going to pay a big shot to do something for you, choose to work with people within your circle, especially people who have made personal efforts and are willing to grow with you. If you're lacking in quality, put them under the tutelage of that big shot, whose services you would not have been able to afford. This was how I made a team out of my friends, who were also my fans, my manager, my media manager, my personal assistant, stylist, designer, and agents. You save more when you spend less, and you spend less when you give to yourself the products and services you need, or give to yourself the people who can give you the same products or services for free or at a huge discount. One way to induce discounts is to patronize one person continually for a long time. This is because most businesses reward their loyal customers. Most importantly, always remember that the easiest way to crash a brand is to cash the brand. I even you need to break the laptop.
You want to break the guitar? Smash it.
Sorry. Oh,
Let me
Christ.
read chapter
I
11.
thought they did use something to fix it.
The peak.
I
don't think
that
it's-
one is not even the problem.
It's the place.
Where you're holding.
Okay.
Let me read chapter 11. But I read it for you.
You have to be on the camera.
Can I use the book and cover my face like this?
No.
Hold on. It's long, but I'm not reading. Jesus Christ, I'm still sleeping.
That's the last chapter we're reading until we eat. Okay, chapter 11. After the eyesore comes the spectacle. The air was dry and adorned with specks of dust. You could see the dust hanging on the beds, brows, and eyelashes of passers-by. But everyone looked gleeful. It is not every year we are in Port Harcourt get to enjoy some Hamatan breeze. Oh, it is not every year we in Port Harcourt get to enjoy some Hamatan breeze. Aside winning War of Words in June, getting invited to perform at the birthday bash of one of Nigeria's most influential veteran poets, the poet laureate himself, Professor Wole Soyinka, in July, and performing before over 10,000 people at an international conference in Lagos in August. The remaining days in 2014 promised lots of goodies for me amidst numerous other small gigs. Small if you are considering the payments. I was billed to perform at the Musical Youth Fiesta organized by Remi Tinubu, the former First Lady of Lagos State. No, I was not directly contracted by her assistant to perform. It was Ogechi Ezekiel, the daughter of renowned Reverend Dr. Obiora Ezekiel, the General Overseer of Christian Pentecostal Mission International, that asked me to perform alongside her crew. Obviously, she was impressed by my performance in August of the same year at the Mission is Possible International Youth Conference and wanted to repeat. We must host you again in December. That one is huger than this. It's a competition where the best crew carts home millions of. It will be such a joy to have you perform poetry that will usher the drama and then the music of my crew. I can't wait for December. She had cooed into my ears after paying me some good
Money.
She was not the only one who was excited, you see. That year, I was the wave of the moment so long as poetry community in Nigeria was concerned. Not just because I had won War of Words 3 back in June, but because 5 of the finalists at the just concluded War of Words 4, according to the audience, all sounded like Graciano. Paul Ward, Poetic Samurai, Clemency Green, Bancol came out tops. I was particularly excited because Poetic Samurai, because unlike him, other poets looked very much of a finished product before I met them. He was not ungrateful. In fact, I had a hard time convincing him to keep his cash prize when he wanted to send it to me as Thanksgiving offering. You can pay me with your usual hospitality when I visit Lagos on the 15th of this month. Samurai was ecstatic. He arranged for me to meet his uncle, who, because of so many great things he had said about me, also wanted to see this magical poet. Are you sure? Because it won't cost us much to book a room for you at the Echo Hotel and Suites in Victoria Island. It will be very easy for every one of us because the event is happening at the Expo Center, same venue. For over 30 minutes after Auntie Oge, as I fondly called her, had informed me that the theme of the program is perfect love. She had been trying to convince me to accept to stay at the five-star hotel, but I turned the luxury down. My reasons to my small mind then was valid. Let them save the money and add it to what they would pay me. I'd rather go visit Samurai and pass the night with his uncle's family or just book a cheap hotel around Ipaja where he lives than waste money that can buy me some bags of cement. I got to Ipaja a few minutes to 10 p.m. and met the versions of Samurai I'd never seen. Dude was all over the place. Wild with excitement, he dished out orders to the men he had referred to as boys working under my supervision at my uncle's factory and greeted people that stood at shops flanking the dusty, noisy roads of Ipaja. He checked me into one of the best hotels close to the family house. We discussed his conquest at the Slam, how major players in the poetry community in Nigeria received the news, his most recent gigs. It was almost dawn when I excused myself because I must rest now because today is going to be a huge day and I need to wake up early to rehearse the poem and build to perform. At a few minutes past 7 a.m., Samurai was at the door already with some sizzling breakfast. We talked some more while we had breakfast. It was a few minutes to 10 a.m. that he asked, "What time are you billed to go on stage, sir?" It's a group performance. The competition starts at 2 p.m., but each group will present what they've got in a sequence as directed by the organizers. "Sir, 2 p.m. and we're still here?" he gasped. "But it's not even 10:30 a.m. yet," I said reassuringly, trying to calm him down. "Sir, this is Lagos. We are currently in the mainland, sir. But the event is happening on the island. If you ask me, I would say you should leave at once." Ha! Samurai was right. By the time we were done searching for a pressing iron to straighten my rumpled shirt, it was already 11 a.m. I left the hotel with my fine shirt ironed alongside a samurai who was worried sick. The air was dry, sun was hot, streets were busy with too many shuffling feet and horns of vehicles were honking as if there was a prize for the one whose noise would be the loudest. For over 2 hours, we were only able to move from Ipaja to Yanapaja, and then to Oshodi on that bridge. It was a painful, slow ride. The bus conductor of the second vehicle we boarded had accidentally hit my shin with his seat while trying to let a passenger alight. I wanted to endure the excruciating pain until he looked right into my face with a frown and with a hoarse voice had said, Baba Mabinu. I was furious. It was Yoruba he spoke quite all right. And because I don't understand the language, I didn't have the slightest clue what he meant. I thought I didn't need to ask because his tonality and his body language had given him away. He sounded like he scolded me for leaving my legs there. Wait till you just tell me, I said, standing up to face him squarely. His mouth reeked of alcohol, groundnut, and rotten soup. No vex, so. Now sorry him talk. Other passengers volunteered to intercede on his behalf by becoming willing interpreters. I looked at Samurai. Sir Mabinu means do not be angry, he said, smiling. Is that how normal people say sorry here? Why did he squeeze his face to say sorry? And what kind of nonsense voice is that, Seth? I was raving mad. I sat down and bent over to nurse my new wound that sent some excruciating pains down my spine. Few minutes later, to get to Oshodi faster, we had to take a bike. Gradually, my black shoes that I had spent quality time polishing started hugging the dust. By the time we got to Oshodi, they were brunette, mousy coffee-colored brown. My shirt too had also caught the brown fever. My face wasn't left out. I purchased some sachet water to wash my face and asked the cobbler to polish my shoes again. As for my hair, even though the afro looked like a mixture of brown and black, I knew that I should not dare to touch it. Washing it would be easy, but combing it won't. Long story short, we got to Echo Hotel and Suites at exactly 4:13 p.m. I had to set my phone on aeroplane mode to save the battery from being murdered by calls from Auntie Oge, her assistant, and from Neoflotry, who had informed me that she was in town and would definitely drop by to watch me perform. After all the protocols that existed at the gate, I was let in and stood at the gate of the hall that sat at least 10,000 people to call both Auntie Oge and her assistant. I was still doing that when I noticed that they were even the ones on stage. They had just finished acting, the singing and dancing followed. I saw one of the assistants whisper into the ears of Auntie Oge. I knew that it must be about my entrance because as soon as she waved him away, he came talk to me. He mumbled words along the lines of, in your mind now, we don't deserve to have you perform with your group, Abi? With our group, Abi? Huh? We are done, Sha. Follow me to take your uniform. Uniform? I was not only sad because I had disappointed her, I felt terribly sad because the shirt I thought I needed to straighten, I wouldn't have needed it after all. Auntie Oge didn't register her displeasure in words, but her body language proved it. She avoided making eye contact with me and only spoke to me through her assistant. It was strange, but I had to endure it. I got my pay for not doing anything and wondered what my pay would have been if only I had fulfilled my part of the contract. Because I was too embarrassed to leave just like that, I hung around her crew and joined the luxury bus with which they had come to the venue. One of them gave me his seat and I sat. From where I sat, I heard some of them saying they had been given only 2 million naira cash prize because they were the second runner-up. I couldn't help but imagine what could have happened if I had made it to the venue on time. I glanced quickly at my phone to check the time and noticed that it was 5:45 p.m. already. Yet, I haven't made plans regarding where I'd pass the night. While I was still considering whether I should take a night bus to Port Harcourt or not, I overheard them talking about another event same evening. Israel, Shane at the same venue where he hold last year, and he go still hold. One of Antioge's assistants asked. Yes, so he replied. Will they go straight? Abi we go branch church first? This question from the assistant again was greeted with several hisses from half the people in the bus. Which kind of question you they ask like this? How we go leave Victoria Island, come they go mainland to come back again to Magodo? Where like this? You were like this, ni? Everyone in the bus received the last statement with the hands of laughter. Since Israel seemed the most knowledgeable so long as this movement was concerned, I decided to inquire what the event was about. Now, one small carol night for GRA Magodo, we shall just be singing, no biggie. When we get to where you will alight, I will let you know. Sha. Can I go with you guys? Ha, chairman. Well, if you want to go with us, no lele. But now sing with a good single. This one is nothing like the one you missed. I could perceive a sneer in his voice, so I had to stop asking questions and just go with them silently. As soon as we got to Magodo from the main gate, Christmas songs were being played by several live bands. It was both melodious and loud. I felt like the sound of the trombone could tear the skies and make rain fall, regardless of the Hamatan season. We alighted from the bus and walked in a queue to the second gate where Auntie Oge was. She was shocked to see me. My poet, you followed us here? She laughed. It was both derisive and laced a bit with what could pass as a blush. Maybe the blushing was just in my head because it was so nice to see her not only make eye contact with me, not only talk to me, but also give me her comforting gap-toothed smile. I swore to myself that I was going to make her smile even some more. We were ushered into the main field, covered with rugs by beautiful ushers who strutted about in their elegant uniform dresses. The crew sat together at the front by the left, and I sat with them. Antioge was sitting in front when she stood up and motioned to them. Everyone stood up, and from the front, they started moving out gradually. I asked one of the singers what was going on, and she said that they only came in here to confirm where we would be sitting, and now would have to go out to change into their uniforms and rehearse. When the procession got to my row, I wanted to go out with them, but was stopped dead in my track, rather harshly. Poet, what is this now? What is this now? Why do you want to tempt me this evening? Don't you know you should sit and help us safeguard our seat? I wish Antioche had blinked when she said this. Then maybe it wouldn't have looked as serious as it looked. I'm terribly sorry, ma'am. Still looking into her face to see if there would be a little smile for me. For where? Please just sit down. Thank you. She could, with some brash finality. When everyone had gone out and I was the only one left there, I became very frustrated and so ticked off at myself for giving people reasons to disrespect me. If only I had accepted to stay at Eco Hotels and Suites. I was seething with rage, so much so that people who had come to the section where Antioche's crew were seated to ask if the seat had been taken saw my face. They could see the anger in my eyes and feel the furnace in my chest. They simply mouthed a sorry amidst the bubbling music blaring all over the open field and left. The crew returned after about 20 minutes. They all looked happier and livelier than they were before they left. I observed their moving mouths and noticed they hadn't only rehearsed, they also just had something to eat. While the chit-chats, which were drowned by the music, ensued. Amongst the members of Antioche's crew, I was engrossed by serious thoughts. What do I do to win back the admiration and respect of Antioche? Should I just return what she had paid me? Even though I needed the money, I didn't feel very comfortable taking payments after not being able to perform. It looked very much like a sterile man who is just been told that his wife has just given birth to a set of triplets. Then a most valuable idea hit me. What if I lobby to perform here, and just before I start performing my poem, I would ask everyone to help me thank Antioche for helping me travel from Port Harcourt to attend this event. It looked like a perfect idea, but who do I meet? I scanned through the crowd to see if I could find anyone who would look like someone in charge. There was this man with this kind of pot belly that says, I work out all right, but beer makes me look unserious. He reminded me of Bro Ike, one of my oldest cousins, who gained and lost weight too often. When he was asked by his friends if he was sick, his response made everyone cough in laughter. He said, I lose weight and gain weight, so I fluctuate. I fluctuate. The man looked too serious, with his eyes peering at a rim of papers through a transparent eyeglass, which tiptoed on the tip of his nose as he chewed gums. Since he was just in front of Antioche, I waited for him to move a little to where I sat at the back, so that in case he disapproves my request to perform loudly, Antioche won't see the disgrace and be like, the one you were invited to, you have scorned. Now, the one you didn't get invited to, you want to force yourself through. I watched him move towards me and then walk past me I ran after him and told him that I needed to perform. Man didn't argue or say anything disapproving. Follow me, he had said as he walked to a small door that led to a mini hall just beside the main stage. He pouted his mouth towards the knob of the shut door, a motion that could only mean one thing: open it up for me. When I squeezed down the knob for him, he used his right leg to kick open the door. Young man, peep inside this room and tell me what you see. I checked and noticed that there were over 60 people sitting quiet calmly. All those people there registered some 2 months ago to perform here. I'm not sure all of them will even have a go today. Hearing this really dampened my resolve a bit. Shortly afterwards, a lady in her early 50s walked in with her entourage. Where is Nduke? Okay. Handle a book now. Mm.
You hide.
Nduke, grab a book and be reading with us.
See my book there. My phone is
You
inside.
want me to read?
No, I want you to be vibing with us.
If I read, someone is going to fall in love.
Taking my phone.
You know?
Say,
You don't want me to read, do you?
where did I stop?
It's not that distraction, so it had anything to work in the time.
The entourage. Okay,
Where are we?
page 83.
Paragraph what?
The first line. What's the first word?
Entourage.
Yes.
Entourage.
The way people greeted her with smiles, bows, and genuflecting, I concluded in my mind that if she isn't the main convener, then she's the closest to the convener. Again, like a very hungry predator who is poised in wait for its prey to walk into an ambush before it pounces on it, I waited for the perfect moment for the lady to walk away from the middle of the audience, lest my potential embarrassment gets televised. Just when I was tired of waiting, the perfect moment presented itself. Like the man before, she walked past me and was about entering one of the rooms behind the audience. I ran towards her. As I was about beckoning on her, two women came out from the door she was about to walk into and genuflected. She hugged them as they laughed loudly and exchanging pleasantries in Yoruba. This they did for 1 century, as I watched in utter awe, wondering what in God's gracious earth they were discussing that cannot end. And it eventually did. Before she escaped, I tapped her shoulder. She turned to meet my gaze. Gradually, her smile morphed into a squeezed face that reminded me of the bus conductor who hurt my shin earlier. Talk now. Fearing that she may think me a coward, and also dead worried that I might just end up blowing my last chance of performing here if I do anything wrong. I didn't know when I blotted out my name is Graciano, and I'm Nigeria's #1 contemporary poet, and I want to perform here. Those last 5 words I had said with the gusto of a terrorist than a request of an artist. She looked at my forehead wide-eyed as she slowly completed a full circle to face me, as if she was still processing what she just heard. The next thing she did nearly made me burst out laughing, if not for the fear that a lot was at stake. She mimicked my last 5 words. I want to perform here, moving her body like a hip hop artist who is vibing to his punchlines on a big stage. I can't even lie. It was a funny sight to behold. Oh, yeah, now come. She slapped the back of my neck lightly 5 times, as if to rouse me to action. See that man on brown suit close to that stage. He's the one in charge of performances. Go there and tell him that. While I stood there considering whether the risk of getting humiliated publicly was worth it, the good lady disappeared through the door she had wanted to unlock before I tapped her shoulder. I was still there when she came back out. You are still here. I thought you would go there and tell him what you told me. She hissed. Where are you from, Seth? Port Harcourt. Ah, her mouth hung open. No wonder, Niger Delta militants. She continued. Apologies, ma'am. My previous request didn't come out right because I'm sort of under pressure to do something here, ma'am. I apologize as I struggled with my parched voice and tongue going numb. She called one of the ushers and asked her to take me to the man she had pointed to me. The usher nodded and asked me to follow her. Immediately, there was that that got into my heels. It was like the spring in 5 shock absorbers were under my heels. Halfway into the crowd, from behind my tour guard of an usher stood behind me with her left hand on my left shoulder and her right hand pointing the man she was supposed to take me to. Said, "Follow my finger now. Hope you can see him now. The man is wearing brown." "No, madam, I'm colorblind. To me, everyone in front of us look like they are all in uniforms, ma." "Oh," she hooted, but had to join me to see the man, as I figured she should have done without undue wheedling. When we got there, the man welcomed us with an "How can we help you too?" To mock the error in his questions, I looked around as if in search for the other people that made him we. But it was a fatal waste of sarcasm because he had asked us the question without taking his eyes off the papers in his hands. I couldn't imagine what would be going on in the mind of Antioche. I could feel her I could feel her eyeballs frisking the back of my head to know if I had gone bonkers. First lady said you should allow him to perform. Lady had dropped it like it's hot. My eyes popped and the man noticed it. "Are you sure it's the first lady that sent you?" "Yes, sir," I quickly chorused alongside the good lady, and like a quick new song, I composed myself. We are going to allow that to waste.
Oh, sorry. I was so engrossed in the whole story.
"Are you sure it's the first lady that sent you?" "Yes, sir," I quickly chorused alongside the good lady. Like a quick new song, I composed myself.
Yeah.
"Well, my friend, what do you do? Do you sing?" "No, sir." He looked at my shoes and manufactured another question. "Do you dance?" "No, sir." "Are you a comedian?" "No, sir." "What do you do?" we asked, almost looking frustrated. "I do poetry." "Ah, poultry.
Oh,
So you want to carry fowl and be running around on our stage?" he asked, wide-eyed and with thick Yoruba accent. I never saw that coming, so I laughed until I was satisfied. Then I looked up to explain to him how poetry was close to what comedians do, but that I didn't need to be funny, and I only needed to talk sense using poetic devices. I'm certain he didn't understand what he had said because he asked if 30 minutes would be enough for me. It was my turn to leave my mouth open and 30 waiting. We settled for 5 minutes, then he laughed at my name. "So that thing where you call now, now the name your papa and mama give you?" "Yes, now." I was going to add that it's not my fault that his parents gave him an ugly local name. No, I didn't know his name, but from my experience, those who doubted that beautiful foreign names were the real names of people usually are the ones with the longest, ugliest, weirdest, and most local names on God's earth. I always end up asking them to find out if it's my real name by asking for my bank account details and leaving me some money when what I told them checked out. He asked me to sit on one of the white seats close to the stage and wait for him. He will come up immediately after the second person that will come after this mama them performing right now. He instructed, pointing at some old women singing in Yoruba. I couldn't make out anything they were saying. Aside the fact that they ended each line with Jesu, I insisted that I would have to go back to my seat, not because I was shy, but because I wanted to walk from the back gallantly and allow people ogle at my proud self. When I got back to my seat to be doubly sure, I asked my neighbor who the lady walking about and marshalling out orders with smiles and some air of importance was, and I was told that indeed she is the first lady of Lagos State, Abimbola Fashola. I was glad I didn't mess up than I had done. I also knew it was God who was giving me another chance, not just to make it up to Antioche, but to perform before government officials after I had squandered the first golden opportunity. 4 acts performed after the group of old women, and the man hadn't as much as looked towards where I was sitting. A 7-year-old boy, son of the governor, took the second reading from the Bible. 2 more acts sang, then the first lady delivered her speech. It was while she was at it that the governor, Babatunde Fashola, walked in alongside his entourage. He refused to sit until everyone who had come with him had sat. Then there was no seat left except for the one the First Lady had just stood up from. Ah, Fashola, you can sit on my seat. Me and you, we are one, the First Lady said, mimicking a thick Yoruba accent, interrupting her speech. Everyone laughed as the governor smiled and sat while the ushers went to arrange for another seat. Those sitting around me discussed in hushed tones that maybe the organizers didn't know he would show up. Considering the fact that he is a Muslim, a part of me admired their union, while another part of me wondered how a family prayer would sound like. If they ever observed that, I was still deep in thoughts when an usher poked my shoulder. Our Oga said you should be ready because he will call you up anytime soon. I looked into the clouds and said loudly, God, you are both wonderful and funny. You had to delay my performance so that I'll perform before the governor himself. Ah, I got called out as a poet, winner of War of Wars Nigeria, who has traveled all the way from Port Harcourt in our sister state. I did my victory walk to the stage. I asked everyone, including the governor, to give Antioquia an applause and a standing ovation, and I watched her blush for some seconds before I serenaded them with perfect love. The same poem I had wanted to perform at the first event. The aides of the governor came to take my contact, and my heart was at peace and merry. At the end of the event, I went to my new hotel room in Antioque's personal car. We talked and we laughed, but I learned my lesson. It is good to be modest and to save. However, just as too much of anything isn't cool, robbing yourself of certain pleasures that fall to you, especially if someone else is paying for it, just to save money, is absolutely horrendous and nonsensical. In life's journey as an artist, while it is good to take the fast lane, it's also beautiful to observe some stops and smell the roses flanking the road. Life is balanced. Some people are the ones who have refused to align. And that's the end of chapter 11, half of the book. So the next chapter is chapter 12. Thou prepare the table before me.
Seriously.
Yes.
That's literally
Yes.
and the table has been prepared.
And there's a table before us right now.
I want to find my belly.
Move your laptop now.
Don't shout at.
Yeah, let it be recording.
And yeah, everything we are talking about. This one now.
You want to push people shit. What is my name?
Wait, no.
You didn't shout at me.
No, now.
Come, let's eat
One
shawarma.
chop swallow. No be talking one chop swallow.
Let women eat shawarma. You know why there's a man in the shawarma?
Because we are eating up.
It's a women.
Hey, that's so weird. It's you people.
I don't care.
Where's the water for washing? Okay.
I don't think it showed us.
I got yours and hers. And the cash was not enough to get for clients like that time, so we just want to.
So now no go chop.
You got your food. Grace.
Thank
Grace.
you.
Where is the
I'm bringing
Are you serious? Make I no call you home for one day.
Where is okay, you
Well,
bought it already.
Why did Gray start that stuff? Like people should be saying
Was it Grace there?
Gray.
And you basically played along. So people felt
That
maybe you
was-
guys were having a thing. You guys were a thing.
Are you serious?
Oh, people thought she angry with everything.
They want snap picture.
Mm.
And Grace shouts. Grace is here. Oh, and Humphrey is paying attention to. Humphrey can't comfort himself. She can't dey blush. So we now thought,
like
okay.
because they are Gray have been making small talk.
It's like for just shouting in the name of Jesus. No.
I cast you out. You dare.
Plus Jesus minus Satan. Bring your seat closer now.
I'm coming, sir.
You want to stand?
No need to invite me to the table. Invite myself.
Into the unknown.
Coming to the is it Monday?
Yes. That's the last. What they have, so we have to buy. Compliment.
I'm not really a fan of Pounded. Yeah.
Really? And you say you want to add weight? Yam actually helps to add weight as quickly as possible.
Everybody wants straight from this people. Don't know what to say.
No, I don't want to take carbonated drink.
I don't know. Even when I travel down to the village, people feel because I'm from Akwa Ibom, since I'm a guy, I also like swallow. I don't really like
I
swallow.
thought you like swallow.
I don't.
I don't like like beans.
I don't really like beans. Beans is because of its first aid.
What do you mean?
Tell me you don't like bread.
Oh, sister.
Bread is second
If I get plenty money, I no go to chop beans like that though.
Are you serious?
I'm not a fan of beans. I just say the whole body.
This shawarma is nice.
Tell you like nice shawarma now we have for say make I taste them. You no buy am for me. I told you give me the shawarma, I no gree. I can't taste that.
Not yummy. We got save your life.
Would you have preferred the shawarma than this?
Yeah.
Are you serious to this? I mean,
I already set my mind saying na shawarma the chop.
I thought you wanted to eat swallow first. I was one that insisted that they should
Like something.
bring for two.
That's why I kept telling her when there was the time the guy came in to talk to her. I kept telling her they should bring the shawarma. Get the shawarma.
Please connect this phone. Wait, goes up. Connect it down. Connect the phone. Just remove it and connect it. Fast. Wait, goes up.
What kind of soup is this?
Native.
This is the first native soup I'm seeing. It looks like native soup.
So it has gone off finally. That was a